It is Core here, and I figure I'd do a video for everyone today on a day that people tend to see as something of a significance, which why? Why is that? What occurs on New Year's Eve to New Year's that is so different than any other uh, one day to the next day? What is so different? There's not really anything that's different because we're not even looking at it in a astrological alignment standpoint. There's nothing special about these 2 days. There's nothing that is transitioning besides a mentality that people have been programmed with. There's nothing that's actually fruitful in this transition, whether it's externally or internally. There's nothing here. It's all pre-facilitated ideas that here specifically in America, because it's different wherever you are when New Year's is, because really, which I will get into what New Year's is, it has nothing to do with anything that we can actually grasp outside of ourselves or inside of ourselves, because it goes both ways. It's this illusionary time. We just passed the holidays. The holy days just ended, and now we're going to go out and create, in our time, debauchery, which historically that would have already occurred, but we're not going to get into that. So in this time in America, this is the day where people would normally go out yesterday, New Year's Eve, go out and drink and get do things they wouldn't do any other time in the year. A lot of people, this is one of those days, and is not in any way tied to anything other than really the holidays are over. The holidays are over. We made it. We made it through. Now it's time to start a new year. Now it's time to do something different. Now it's time to do something new. When this is a big fallacy because it's all an illusion. There's nothing that's really being attained from this. And it's an illusion in the standpoint it's being given to everyone. No one is actually going out and attaining and attuning to what is going on right now. This is just something that people are linking up with because there's a ball dropping in New York. But what is New York? Why is New York there? Why is there a ball dropping? What does all this have to do with everything? I'm pretty certain I actually got a video on the ball dropping from 2018. I also have a video on some of the things I'm going to be talking about in here from 2018 on New Year's from 2018. This is all still relevant because it's all still in effect. People are still doing it. People are still creating resolutions. What is a number, though, JS? What is a number? Who creates these numbers? And how can we move from one number to the next number in days? In days. There's something that we're missing here. These days are all the same. There's no differentiate. There's no difference between New Year's Eve to New Year's. It's the same thing, especially when you start looking at it in the aspect of what even the day is being abbreviated as NYE, which is funny because that's New York. Then you got NY, and where are they dropping the ball at? New York, which I'll get into what new is in a moment. And York goes back to Europe, even before that. But the NYE is the same thing as NY, is the same thing as N, is now. It's what is occurring now. This is why any word that begins with an N is personifying what is occurring here and now, in action, in motion. What am I actually attaining and doing, working towards with what is being orchestrated now. Is what the end is all about. This is really what this time is all about, because it's new year. New year is now yours. It's what time is it? The time is now. If the time is now, what are you doing right now? A lot of people right now are making resolutions, resolutions. They're trying to figure something out to solve an issue that has been plaguing them for millennia, potentially, at least throughout their existence right now, at least throughout this yearly life cycle. Most people make the same type of resolutions every single year. It has to do with health. It has to do with eating food, exercising. These are the main things that resolutions are made about. And I would almost guarantee, if you go look at statistics, analytics regarding this is what most resolutions are made about, by far, is health, because people are not healthy mentally and physically. Now, people are mostly only focused on physical, so most of these resolutions are based on physical means, not mental. But people also don't stick to these resolutions because it's a resolution. They're doing something they've done before. That's what a rewind is, to go back and do something. It's to go back in that video. A re-solution is go to an old solution that you've already done. It's already been tried, but it's clearly not tried and true because it didn't work. You're here trying to do it again. You're making the same resolution. You're just deciding that I'm going to do this diet. I'm going to do that thing. I'm going to do it this way, even though it's for the same purpose, though. You're looking for the same outcome by doing it a little bit differently. That's what a resolution always is. That's what the word means. We need to drop the re. We ain't re-re's. Don't take that offensively. Re means to slow or retard something. And when we do that, we're getting disillusioned by what we are attaching that to. So we are slowing down the process of actually attaining a solution by actually attaining what we really already have. Because we're looking in the past, we're looking in what was already here to solve what we are going towards, or really what we're doing now. Because what we're doing now is what we're going towards. So the solution is where we are. It's the soul. It's the drink. It's the water. It's soul. It's the sun. It's what is being imbued on us, through us, and what we are becoming. Which is why it's not a new year. There is no such thing as a new year. There is no such thing as a year. When you really get down to it, what is a Y? Is a here. It's your ear. It's you're hearing something. It's to be in a standing position. The Y is a amalgamation of the H. They took the steady house and they split it into two directions. Now you got two choices to make. That's what a Y is. You got two choices. Is it a vowel or is it a consonant? I'm not sure. The Y is one of those letters that it splits things. The H is steady. You hear something, you know it. It's now. When you know something, it's the same word as now. You have knowledge of it because you just received it. Because you're the receiver. And you're in a place to where you can get things that are coming back at you. And when we are present in the now, there is no year. It's just what you are. Your. That's why there's so many different, 3 different ways to do your. You are. Your, just Y-O-U-R. And in a possessive way. And all of these really are the same thing because they all have to do with you. They all have to do with what you are now and what you are becoming. Because, again, your is our. we're going to replace that Y with an H. It's hour. So if in this hour, we'll get into Egypt a little bit. Hour has to do with Horus, or the sun, because the sun determines the hour. And when we know what hour it is, we know what ours is. Because we can just actually leave the H right there, because the H is just breath. We know breath. That's what we are doing here. That's why the H is steady, because we need the breath to actually do any of this. We need the breath to be able to even release a vowel, because the vowel is nothing more than the breath being slightly cut up by changing how that air is coming out. So an hour is just what ours is. What are we doing right now? Because ours is R. O-U-S. I should have done this on the whiteboard over there. O-U-S is A-R-E. It's the same thing. Is R is the letter R is ours, because R has to do with Ra, or the sun god, which now we're going to take it back to Horus, and ours is a reflection to us, because we don't create resolutions. We get imbued with the resolution. We get imbued with the R. We are it, because we're transponding what is required for us, what we need to acquire. To require something, you got to know what you need to acquire. And when you know what you got to acquire, that requirement will come to you. Just like right now, people are ordering stuff all over the place. They're going on Amazon and ordering stuff. So they're going on Amazon, and they need, a lot of people are prepping right now. They're getting preppy. So they're ordering generators and all these other tools and nifty things to be able to last in case the electricity goes out specifically. So in that, you need to acquire a generator. Well, that's great. You went and you acquired it because you require it in case something occurs in the future. Because you're projecting, possibly based on what I'm seeing, that this may be the case, because we ain't necessarily out here alone. There's other things going on, and when there's other things going on, we need to take this concept of ours and figure out how we can link this into the greater arcing plan or scape of what's occurring. Like right now, this novel that's occurring. This novel that's occurring has a specific arc that's going along with it, just like any story. And we need to pay attention to this novel so we can see how are we able to use this? What part of this novel are we requiring to acquire what we need to do right now? Because it's all about what you are. Because it's not the new year, it's now your time. There is no new year time. There's no time for new years. You've had the same ears. You've been hearing the same things the whole time you've been here. It's just slightly different vibrations and attunements. It's all the same. And for a lot of people, they hear the same things, actually. They do the same things because they're in loops, loop-de-loops. And when we realize that we've been here before, we've done this, and what we did before didn't really work. So let's throw that whole entire idea out. Let's create a solution that actually has embodiment into what we are now in a attainable, practical way that we can get to where we see ourselves in the future. And when we do that, we'll get there. This is how corporations work. This is how these businesses are able to stay afloat even during this novel time right now, because they've planned this. They knew this was going to occur. They seen it. We all knew this was going to occur. People are ignoring things out here, not paying attention that oh wow, there's probably going to be something that occurs soon because of all these things that have been talked about for as far as I can tell. I'm going to get into the timescape right now, years. They've been talking about this for years. They've been saying this year after year, new year after new year. The world's going to end. The world's going to end. The apocalypse is coming. This has been going on at least, what, 80 years probably? At least. And that's only in this current age. We can go back in history, and this has never stopped. And as long as we see that, we can see the cycles and cyclical paths everything is working in, and we can see that there's probably going to be something occurring soon, because historically, when this started to occur, then it came. And we're in that time. We're in that moment right now, because time is now. And as long as we're in that moment right now, we can see that these things are about to occur, and they are occurring. They're being curated. They are being grown right now in our faces. The whole entire financial industry right now is being flipped in a different direction, because that is what occurs during these times, because the commerce, the capitalism is what is controlling the ship that most people are on. And as long as we're on their ship, we're at the mercy of their captain. As long as we're at the mercy of their captain, we better be paying attention to what the hell he's saying. We better hear it. We better take it in. We better be able to facilitate that in a way that we can actually move through these waters, because we're on their ship. We're on their deck. As long as we're playing with that deck of cards, we never know when it might fall, but we can see that there's cracks in the deck. We can see that the paint's peeling. We can see that the water is getting to it. It needs to be refinished. It needs to be redone. They need to resurface it. It needs to use a different compound. We're going from the reality to the virtual reality right now. The currency is being taken out of any physical means. It was taken from a coinage. It was first taken from living organisms to a coinage, to something that's dead, to back to the living organisms in a dead state, to now it's just being thrown into, I don't even know where it is. I can tell you where it is: in data centers, it's in drives, and all these different electronical devices that have to work with magnets and all these other fanciful things. But when it really comes down to it, where is the money going? Where has it been? You swipe a card and all of a sudden you pay for something. People are going to press a button and they're not even going to know their money is actually now, it's not sitting in a bank account in dollars and bills that you can even really get anymore. It's digital currency. And that's what's happening right now. And people ain't paying attention to that because they're too busy with the new year. And when you're too busy with the new year, you're too busy with chaos, because new is chaos. In Egyptian mythology, Nu is the god of chaos. And as long as you're paying attention to the chaos and the year that is occurring, you're going to miss out on things. It's all about you. It's all about where you are. There is no new. There's nothing new. It's now. New is always now. What is occurring now is all that will ever be new, because everything is occurring right now around you. Can we quantify it? Can we see it? Are we aware of it? How much of our environment and our internal surroundings are we actually being aware or conscious to, so that we can actually obtain what we see for ourselves? Because that's what it comes down to. We all have goals and aspirations and things that we would love to experience, but when we amalgamate ourselves to the society that just wants to suck our energy out through different means, and we don't pay attention to what these different tactics and tools they're using so that we can combat them. This is war. They're swinging swords at us, and we're just standing here taking the hits. We're not doing anything, most of us. We're just standing here. We're wearing the swords. Where are you? You're in the middle of a war field. You got to get your sword out so that you can combat what is coming at you. You're a warrior. You've always been a warrior. Remember that. Now get out here on the battlefield of time and space and actually see that you're on the corner. They're trying to get you put in jail because you're on the corner. Yet you weren't doing nothing but standing there. You weren't prostituting. You weren't selling dope. You weren't doing nothing. You were just standing there. But they're trying to put that on you because you are not being aware of their tactics. You're not being aware of the means that they use to get you into these corners and these situations where you just end up dying and they take everything from you. That's why they want you in hospitals. That's why they want you to every year come back and try a new diet. They'll give you a new diet every single year. They don't care. They'll come up with they recycle these diets, first of all. All they do is come down and figure out the science of these things, and then they give it to you in a way that it's not going to work. It can't work. It's not holistic. It's not soulful. It's not fulfilling. It's not giving you what you actually need because it's all based on physicality. What about your mind? What about your mental? We need to get to a sense to where we can take care of ourselves, because if we ain't taking care of ourselves, we're going to get stuck in these loops and cycles that happen every single year, and they have never stopped. There's always been measurements. There's always been people trying to stick you in time, but what time is it? The time is now. And when the time is now, you know that you can do something right now to get you to that experience that you desire, that you need, because your desire is your need. It's really what is in your soul. Desire is not in any way a bad or evil thing. It is what is necessary, because the need is necessary. It's what will fulfill you, is what will enlighten you, is what will give you balance, is what will allow you to come out and start sharing that experience with everyone else so that they can have the same, so they can do the same, because that's really all we want. We want people to be able to experience what they intend to experience in the most fruitful ways, as long as it's not stepping on other people's own experiences. Because when you start doing that, you start getting into the vampires, into the werewolves, into Dracula, into being a succubus, into all these evil, deadly things in the corners, and in places that no one wants to go, because they'll take advantage of you. So you got to make sure that what you need is aligned with also what everyone else needs. And it truly is. It has to be. There's no other way to play this it's not even playing. There's no other way to do what we are doing right now than to align it with everyone else, because we're all just light out here. It's all just one line of light, but how are we looking at it? What's the perception of it? Go check out my video I did on perception just recently. There's only one light. Light is a flick. It's you're in, you're out. And at that point in between the in and the out, that's where we all are. And there's all these loops that get created, and these people that don't ever want that light to end will try to take your light so that they can live on for forever, even though we are forever. But we also have to know that I am you, you are me. When we go from start to end, we're going to start again. That's all the end is, another start. The light really doesn't end. It's a replication of itself. This is how cells work. This is how matter works. This is how light works. This is how light travels. Light travels because it's repeating the light that it is. It just goes. It repeats itself. It's dots, dot after dot after dot after dot, but it's creating these lines. And because of that, there's things in between that try to take your light, that try to take what you are, that try to take what you're capable of. And we got to stop that. We got to realize that. We got to actualize that. We got to come back to our focus, our awareness, our actualization of what we are doing here, so that we can stop all of this debauchery. At least in the sense to where it's not affecting us. Because is it even really possible to stop all the debauchery? Probably not. It probably isn't. Because there is no true debauchery. Because when we flip this, they're seeing it from the other side. Except they're doing things that are very harmful to all of us to get what they want. And as long as we stay on course, they'll flip. They'll realize like this isn't sustainable. This does not last. There's a reason why plants and trees grow how they grow. There's a reason why they work with the earth, the soil, the dirt, the worms, the parasites, the things that people don't want. There's a reason that trees are able to grow off of this and not in any way be hampered from it, as long as they are not contained. If a tree is not contained, it will never stop growing because it's going to learn what everything is doing, even the things that are trying to eat it, eating its roots, taking it apart, destroying it. The birds that are the birds and the insects and things that are eating it, that are taking its fruit, that are doing things to it. It's going to know and come to terms that, okay, this is just happening. I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go that way. I'm going to start growing out this way because I need more sun, or I need to ground more. I'm going to get deeper in the ground to where I can get to a water source that is always sustainable, always attainable. Oh, those roots got ate up. Now I'm not attached to that water anymore. You know what? I need to figure out a way that I can never be separated from this water. I need to figure out a way that I can never be separated from the sun. I need to figure out a way that I am the figure, that I am all there is, that I am the embodiment of the sun, the earth, and the air in between. And we do that through the breath, because you can't stop the air from connecting everything. Ooh, that was 25 minutes. That was crazy. I'm gonna read people's comments real quick. What up, Upward Ninja? I never seen you here before. Nice to see you here. Oh yeah, before I do this, everyone, like this video, subscribe to my channel, turn on the alerts, because you never know when I might just come on here and might start doing this. This is high level good information for everyone to attain. It's a lot of energy out right now, so I decided to come on and jump in here and give it back. Why don't we count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi? I don't know. Do people not do that? I don't know. That's something that they teach you in school so you can stay on point. I know a lot of people say the time is sped up. So really, though, what is 1 Mississippi but a way to frame your mind that this is a second? So that might be why people ain't saying it anymore, because there is no second. We ain't second to anything. We're here. We're now. We're first. We're fresh. Oh yeah, this live stream will be up. Oh Shakur, this ain't going nowhere. As long as it don't get flagged for no reason, but it shouldn't. Nothing in here that would. Exactly, Gary. But now I could go into that too. I'm not even gonna do that. They are the markers right now. But what happens if there's no moon? What's stopping the sun from actually staying in the same cyclical path? And what up, Gary? Hey, Joni. Exactly. You get to the end. This is why in movies there's a scene after the credits, because a lot of people think it's the end. A lot of people are walking out of that theater. They're done watching it. They turn it off. They stop recording. But a lot of movies, especially the big budget Hollywood movies, the very theatrical movies, they got scenes after the credits. There's a reason there's scenes after the credits, because it's a new beginning. It doesn't end. And those scenes after the credits is always giving you a hint to what may be coming next. It's a cliffhanger. There is not one novel, one story, one lie that has ever left you completely satisfied. It's always a cliffhanger, because they need to keep going. The lie doesn't end. The story doesn't end. It's a never-ending story. Once you tell a lie, you need to keep going with it. It's impossible to stop it. It's just out of control. Everything right now is out of control. It's madness out here. See, and the thing about Saturn, Saturn is the has to do with karma, and it's interesting. You said like, the capitalist program is run by Jupiters. I never heard of that. Interesting. Which would make sense. So it's a culmination. It's a collision. Ah, that's awesome, Gary. I that's that's what people need to do because it's monopoly money. It's it's to play with. What do you want to do with it? It it's not so serious. Well, go play the slot machines of cryptocurrency. Go play the slot machines of the stock market. You know, get some information, learn what you're doing and getting yourself into, but as long as you know it's a game, you're going to come out on top. Because just like even if you go play the lottery, you know you ain't winning that big jackpot. You know that you're probably most likely not going to win much with a lottery ticket with any of those jackpots to where you're going and picking numbers. It's the chance of it is ridiculous to win anything. And you're spending such a little bit amount compared to if you go and get into lotto tickets, you're gonna come out on top, especially if you know it's a game. If you know like, hey, I'm going to spend this just because I feel like it. I could also go and spend this on the movies, on this, on that, but I'm gonna spend it on this, and we'll see what happens. And you're probably gonna come out way better off than you went in the end. Just can't get discouraged. It's like flipping a coin. There's a 50-50 chance. It's the law of probability. Yep. That yurt. Which is really what it's so much more uh financially available to yurts, cob houses. There's so many better ways to facilitate living uh, spaces than these insanely overpriced houses that people build in neighborhoods. Time is running out. The bottle's running dry. What's up, Synchrone? Interesting. Never heard that song, Gary. Thank you, Sin. I appreciate it. Hey, Grow7, what's up? I agree with you, J510. There's definitely uh, things are speeding up, but that's because when things speed up, things heat up. We start multiplying. We start absorbing and radiating energy. We start sharing information. People are able to absorb that information and reference it, share it. It's all about sharing. There's this technology has a lot of shortfalls to it, but when you really look at it, it's all there. brighter though, especially the moon. The moon seems a lot brighter, which is interesting because is the moon only getting brighter because the sun's getting brighter? Because of this uh, of what the sun is, the sea. I don't want to say it. I don't want to get any type of flagging here, but that's what sun is. It's your highest chakra. That the novel thing going on right now is that why the moon's actually getting brighter because there's a infection of the sun occurring that the moon is taking that energy because the moon is actually melting though. Maybe the moon's melting away. Maybe it's gonna disappear like an ice cube, just fall into space. Like Pluto is no longer a moon. Now it's just a rock. Pluto's no longer a planet. It could sin. It could. There's a lot of there's a lot of ways you can go at those the chemtrails in the sky. It seems though by observation that the clouds are actually created from that because they very much correlate time wise. Now that could be an illusion in itself. I did hear about that Growth 7 Saturn being the first sun, and I do know about that, and that being locked up in the rings of Saturn, bonded to Jupiter. Which, if you think of that movie Jupiter Rising, who is Jupiter? But what's her name? Mila Kunis, but it's a female. It is that energy. She's the bee, but she's the queen bee. She's the one that sees herself as a center and controlling everything. And when you do that, you start creating bonds with things and you start taking control of things, which has to do with maritime law and this whole matriarchal society. And then you get into Queen Elizabeth and the whole crown and the jewels and the thievery going on. It's just unbalanced. It's unbalanced. To me, what is Saturn? Because it's a star. It's a luminary in the sky. We can't even differentiate what these things were if we weren't told what they were. The only things that we can truly differentiate in the sky are the sun and the moon. They are by far the biggest luminaries in the sky. Anything else up there is a little fractal of that. And especially if we didn't have all this light pollution, we would it would be it would be illogical to sit here and try to differentiate and cut up the amount of luminaries in the sky if anyone has ever been in a place to where there's just no light pollution. It's completely and utterly is demesmerizing. It's like, wow, this is just amazing. All of these different lights up there. I've never seen this before. And you gotta get here in America, you gotta get into like Utah and stuff where there's just nothing for hundreds of miles to where you can really see everything in a clear view and not be attuned to these extremely bright light sources that are still substantially smaller than the sun and the moon. Substantially. They say that Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars are some of the planets that you can see the most in the sky, most frequently, and Venus, because they're all close. Mars is a little bit bigger than Venus, but Venus is also a little bit brighter, from what is said. And we would not know what these things are if we were never told. And if we were in a natural environment, we would never pick them out. It wouldn't happen. We wouldn't say, oh, these are the 9 wandering stars that don't twinkle. It's this is astrology. It's very elusive in how all this stuff is created. It all has to do with cutting things up and taking it away from its source in the most finite way possible. It's like making a diamond. Diamonds don't shine. They only shine because of how they get cut up. But then people get asphyxiated to the diamond and the shine of it because Diamonds trap light. They don't trap light, they encapsulate light. They store light. This is what we are. If you get a raw diamond, it encapsulates light. A raw diamond has iron in it. It's yellowish. It looks a little grayish because it's taking in that light and holding it and charging for when it's time to release, for when it's time to allow that knowledge out. Because when you learn something new, you can't just start running around and sharing it with everyone. You got to let that new knowledge, that new light, that new information soak in so that it can actually be utilized and shared in a way that it can actually be actualized and received by everyone that is taking it in and hearing it, so that they can actually be here, so they're not just listening, so that they are here and can facilitate it into their own existence. And yeah, Saturn, Father Time, yep. As far as I'm concerned, there's one sun, and that's me. There's one sun, there's one earth. And these are just words we're using. And I'm all of it. So are you. You're all of it. And that doesn't make me God over anything, because I am everything. Everything is nothing. God is one thing. I ain't trying to be God in the sense that word is used. I am just everything. I can touch the heavens, I can touch the ground, and everything in between, because I split it, and so did you, because you're here. You can hear this. I like that, Gary. The time's on your side. Yep. Exactly. It's next. It can't get ahead of you. Time can never get ahead of you. It can't. It can only get to your side. And it can't even get like next to you. It's like a little bit at that corner. Yep. I know all about that, sin. It's possible, but these could also just be novels. These could also just be stories that we're told. Because I talked about in the recent live stream I did about mud floods and flat Earth and a plasma apocalypse, which I'm gonna do another part to. I just needed to gather a few things before I did, which I'm about ready to. Um, how do we know that all of this isn't this fanciful, theatrical story that's being spun and that people are getting encapsulated in? Because that's how you encapsulate someone. That's how you make a pill. A lot of people taking pills. Pill, pulling them somewhere, pushing them that way. Anyone that says just take a pill, no matter what type of pill it is, they're leading you down a path. And that in essence is what stories are. How can we know that anything written in a book, anything written in stone, anything written anywhere is actually what is occurring right now, right here, in this existence, or in what we like to say is past? Because it's history. It's novel. Just right now, what is going on? You sit here and think about what is going on right now in this novel occurrence look in 50 years. It's going to be quite different in history books. It's going to be quite amalgamate. It's going to be adulterated. It's going to be not how we are perceiving it. And because of that, we have to look at all stories like that. What was actually occurring then? Were there actually people of these different hues? Or were these people of these different hues more a representation of what that hue's vibration is? Because that's really what these colors represent, is a certain vibratory frequency. Are you grounded? Are you more spirited? Are you in between? Are you lost in one of them? Are you too far on one side? What vibration, what octet, What frequency are you working at? Because that's really what we're all tuning to. We're instruments out here. We're just playing music. See, and then that idea of Saturn, though, I see it as more of the singularity of everything. Because, all right, take this idea. This is what it is. It's not even an idea. I just got to download. So you got Saturn. The idea of Saturn is being surrounded by ice rocks. That's what they say the rings are. Saturn's gaseous, but you got ice rocks around it. After this, I'm going to skip to the end of the comments, though, and we're going to end this. But here's a treat for anyone that's made it. This is a cliffhanger because everything continues. The story must go on. So we're going to end with this. So you got the sun, Saturn, and then you got the ring of Saturn, which is something separate, made of ice, gaseous sun, Saturn. But now the sun that we know, science-wise, hydrogen creates helium. It's a fusion device, and it's a reactor. It's creating energy for us, which is a reflection of us. Is why it was where we get to Ra. But so we got that right now in the sky, which we see. Which what is that sun circled by? What is adulterating its path? What is not allowing it to just always be there? The moon, ice, Isis. It's cold on the moon. You don't want to go to the dark side of the moon where the sun ain't shining, where it ain't absorbing that radiation, because you'll freeze. You'll just fall apart. You'll turn into ice and just start cracking. Release the Kraken. So you got the moon, ice, circling, creating this bond around the sun, Saturn, or the idea of what the middle of the gaseous part of Saturn is. And now you got the storm on it because of this pattern that the moon is going around it in, because the moon goes in this spiral pattern around the sun, I'm going to say. Well, now we just describe Saturn. Now we just describe this whole idea of how Saturn could be our first sun. Because if the sun was stagnant, everything visually to us is going to change because we're not going to have night and day. So our vision or how we absorb this light energy is going to change to where it's all constant. It's going to fall somewhere in the middle, which is going to be in this bluish hue. Because it's not going to be this bright yellow, or maybe it's just red. I don't know. We're not going to get into that, but it's going to stabilize because it's always there. It's not being pulled one way by the ring that is being put around it, which is also causing these equinoxes and solstices, which has to do with these rituals, which has to do with more spirals, which now we're getting into time and all these different timescapes and measurements. But now we're taking this time and these spirals and we're going to put it into a square. We're going to put it into the calendar. And then we go back to Saturn as Father Time. But when we know what time is now. The time is always now. That is what it is to be time. To be on time is now. You're on time. When you're the father of something, you're on top of it. Which doesn't mean you're better or the God of it. It just means that you can observe what is occurring when you're the father of something. You can see what is occurring so that you can facilitate what is necessary for its growth. When you're growing plants, you're the father of plants. You're fathering them. You're fostering them. You're assisting in their growth because the environment is hostile to it. But now if we get into this balanced environment, the sun's always there. We are Father Time. We are on time. The sun ain't leaving. Everything balances out. Now everything seems like this crystalline evanescence. Trees are letting out light. Everything is just glowing. Everything's sharing information. It's majestic. It's fanciful almost to think about it that way because the Death Star goes away. no one's probably ever said it in that way before either. So uh, it's probably a new theory that's gonna come about. The moon's the space. It's a satellite. It's a satellite. There's no coincidence. Kid Cudi decided to release Man on the Moon Part 3, which is a terrible, terrible, terrible. Even if you try to look at it from the standpoint of his music and how it is. I used to be a Kid Cudi fan before I came into my own and started realizing what his lyrics are saying. But it's terrible. But he had to release it because I had to release Part 3, Man on the Moon, right in 2020 in December. There was a reason for that. There's a reason the moon is where the man gets stuck in a suit, in a white suit. What is white? What type of suit do they put you in when it's white? A straitjacket. You're crazy. You're going to the mental asylum. They're sending you to the moon. That's lunacy. What does the moon do to people? It makes them crazy. These werewolves and vampires, they come out on full moons because that's the energy that they can absorb because they can't take in that source energy from the sun, which is why they need the moon to push that sun out of the way so they can actually inhabit this place. Because if that sun was always out, they would turn into dust. They would turn into water. They would turn into these different materials that they manifested from because they ain't a culmination of all of it. They're part of it. That's why they hide. All right, holy shit, there's a lot of shit. Well, let me catch up to the chat, and we're gonna end it. I'm gonna see what everyone said here. Oh, son. I would say she looks like a mouse. But to each their own. Hey, we each probably got a star up there, Gary. We're all our own star, or maybe it's just this one star is us, and then there's the how we are right now is the other illuminaries that are out there is what we are in the moment, and then whenever we decide to change or to become something different, whenever we've mastered what we are working on, that star gets implanted in the sky, and then we begin working on another star travel, so then we can navigate from star to system to star system to star system and appreciate and experience all these different types of ways of living, ways of doing things that we never would have otherwise because they're all up there. There's a reason. There's a reason for this light pollution. Star traveling is real. Thoughts, ideas, logic, electricity, circuit boards, motherboard. The Earth is absolutely in a flattish sense. I mean, it's as far as you can see. There's your Earth. That's it. Your environment. Oh, I'm gonna check that out later, Sin. But I'm near. Yeah. Really good. It's interesting. It felt major. I'm pleased to be able to share that with you and touch your heart because it rang mine as well. Interesting. The loop of the Akashic records. Which, but then you think even think of that, the Akashic record. What is a record? It's something that's going over and over and over and over and over. It's on repeat. Do you want to live only in the Akashics, or can we have other records? Why is everyone only talk about the Akashic records? What about these other records? These other ways of doing things out here? Well, Bobby Samson. See, I think the idea of Saturn is going to come into fruition a little bit different. To me, everything that gets put out is pretty deceptive in how it's put out, even on like, YouTube. It's because it comes. People act like they know it, but they read it somewhere. A lot of people read it somewhere, and they take that. They're regurgitating information. Like it's not something that they're have discernment or the possibility of this may not be it. People read information and it's like, oh, this is it. This is also it. This is also it. This is all this information is just confusion that's put out on these chords. Because these chords are being recorded from one place. It's all from the same AI. But when you know that, you can start to see the actual truth and what information can actually be utilized or how it can be orchestrated truly, because and it's not even that you really do it, it's just it, it just makes sense when you start to just take a bunch of information in from all these different sources, and it just starts to make sense when you don't just believe in everything, which is the hardest thing for people. A lot of people have a very hard time not believing things, which for many reasons. So that makes sense about Jupiter, Gary, because Jupiter is like it's the biggest planet by far. It's gaseous. It's blown up. What are people full of when they're really fat? What's fat? What is that really? You heard it here first. Yeah, Bobby's work it is really good. It is. He's actually the only person that I entertain whatsoever regarding any type of information, just because it's very in depth. I could not actually take in physically the Saturn Jupiter conjunction because it's been extremely cloudy here for quite some days. The sun was out probably a day after that for a couple days in a row, but then it snowed and it has been cloudy again since then. But, or though, there's definitely a lot of information being shared. There's definitely some type of, I would say, because it was a conjunction, it was more of like a collision, like a car accident, to where there's all these different pieces that you would never see flying everywhere of the cars from under the hood. It was a crazy wreck. It was a crazy wreck. It was a retcon. Like the whole story had to get changed, and they're trying to carry on this narrative in whatever way possible, because there is no such thing as an accident. Do I know what the firmament is? It's your mind. It is the highest that you can reach. In physicality, no. I've never been up there in physicality. But when we talk about it in a sense of what really is it, or what it actually is, not what it really is, what it actually is, how high does your mind allow you to go? Because the firmament will reach into the edges of space. Because anything in outer space is outside of the firmament, and you can only experience things inside of the firmament because the firmament is what encapsulates the light, which is where I was talking about the concept of the light traveling. We created this ability to be able to experience ourselves by encapsulating light through different vibrations and frequencies, which we can look at this physically as oil. Oil encapsulates water, which holds the light. So we can hold light even longer if we utilize oil in a sustainable manner. In the right frequency, because that's what all this comes down to, vibration and frequency. So we got to layer it in the right way so that we actually have an experience, so that we have enough of available energy to have an experience. But now when we start bouncing all this off of each other, it's never ending. Oh yeah, please do, Junie. That's interesting, Sim, because last time I felt this type of energy, I was in Phoenix when these type of things were happening in the skylines and in the sky. It was like 2015, and the month that I left Phoenix, it was cloudy the entire month, cloudy, and it's never cloudy. It's the whole entire year in Phoenix. It's cloudy for a month altogether. It was cloudy every single day. It made no sense. It was completely illogical. But when you are paying attention to what's happening in the sky, and when it's not cloudy, you could see like there's things occurring that is being covered, which is the same right now. I mean, I've mentioned in my videos, the horizons are absolutely amazing when the sun is rising and setting. And even when the sun's not even close to setting, the horizons, the colors that are being shown is beautiful. There's definitely things that are being pushed out of the awareness of the common folk because they don't look up. It doesn't affect us because we can see past the clouds. We can see into the cracks and make sense of what is occurring. Interesting. Would you put the yellow and the blue, and what do you get? You get the green, and you're the fire. These plants, green, balance. What's the most balanced things around here? They got fire in them too. They're storing up energy. This is why. Here's a bonus for everyone before I get off, since I'm at the end of the chat now. Tropical trees versus trees and plants that are in colder climates. You'll notice that the ones in colder climates have a much thicker bark and they're much browner. That's because they're storing up carbon, they're storing up energy. And they also don't produce nearly as many sweet fruits especially the trees, is when you go to tropical places, you get a bunch of sweet fruits. That's because these trees, they ain't storing up. Another thing is these tropical trees will get a bunch much bigger, much faster than these trees in the colder environments. And it has to do with the carbon storing. The trees in the tropical environments, they don't store the carbon like that. They are utilizing and that energy to create these delicious fruits very quickly and growing very fast. So you get all of this. But now if it gets cold very quickly, they don't got that energy in them to be able to sustain themselves through that type of season, because they've expended that energy, because they're used to being able to give out the information without anyone coming and trying to deteriorate them in a nonsensical way, which is what it is with cold. That's what's occurring. But in these cold environments, you got these oaks, you got these maples, and all these other type of trees. Their bark is very thick, they're very dark brown, and a lot of them only produce seeds and nuts. They don't even produce fruits in the sense of in tropical places. That's because they're storing energy, and they're giving stored energy for the beings that are around them, rather than energy that is readily available that you can eat and uh, have in function within moments. You put that fruit in your mouth and it energizes you. You put that nut in your mouth and you might go to sleep for a couple hours before you are energized. That's a preview actually about what I'm going to talk about in my next video regarding flat Earth and the resets. It's going to include a lot about carbon and carbon beings and melanin, and I'm going to get into all that a little bit. It'll probably end up being like a few more parts actually, because I've got some information that I would like to tie into all of that. I'm pretty sure on the horizon, Sin, that there is definitely some type of other illuminary, or at least a reflection maybe of the sun, or maybe what we see as a sun. Maybe that is not the actual sun. Maybe that is a reflection of the real sun, the sun simulator. Maybe that's the case. Maybe the moon is a sun simulator and is reflecting this other sun out there because it's charging from our actual luminary that is being hidden in plain sight. Oh, Nikki's here. I have to go. And it's being hidden in plain sight, but we can't see it because we're disillusioned to it. We're too busy with these other two things that are both not real. Maybe that's what's occurring. But there's definitely, I would say, something out there that seems completely separate from the sun that we're always used to seeing. I'm about to think about what I just said some more. That's interesting. Oh yeah, I always see rings around the moon. Absolutely. Always. As ice. Go get some really cold ice and put it in a warm environment. You'll see a ring around it because of same even light. It goes both ways. You'll see a ring around it because of the glow of it coming off. Yep, green's a heart chakra, that balance. Emerald, the his hair keeps itching my nose. the balance, the emerald, the core, the where MurKoRey, the MurKoRey is a messenger, the humble messenger. The the Hermes, the the steady me. I'm gonna watch it soon. I would say yes, Gary. Now, how severe it would be, I would say that it would depend. But I would definitely say yes. I have no doubt that cold weather tree can be transitioned into a tropical climate. But it's like someone who has a lot of stored up energy. Like, you can't just take it, and you got to grow that from seed. And even at that, you got to maybe do it in stages with different humidities and heat and energy exposure, because you'll burn yourself up. People who are fat, they like to be in cold environments. They go down to Florida, like, oh, this is too humid. I can't even. It's they got too much stored up energy. That's why bears. They show you bears. Bears aren't in those environments. They're in environments where it gets cool. There's a lot of evergreens, pines. They're actually tropical trees. They come from the tropics. I'm sure that's where they originally came from. Whoop, Zigzag. For anyone that is still here, Sunday in 2 days, me and Zigzag are gonna do a live stream at about 6:30. 6:30. Probably Eastern. We're probably working off Eastern time. 6:30 Eastern time. Oh, if I'm not already subscribed to you, Sin. Yes, it's gonna be amazing. If you thought this live stream was good, just wait till me and Zigzag start talking. Hey, Nye. What is that? Oh, you got some spoons? Fork, something? Yes, which I'll be scheduling it, so you should be seeing it here. I didn't schedule it yet, but all right, I'm gonna take off. I'm gonna go see what everyone is doing here. Oh, here's Kai. What is that? Come over here. I can't see it. Don't walk. Why are you walking across my yoga mat? Oh, you got a knife. Oh, that's that corn-based flatware. I hope it wasn't too long for people saying this was a crazy stream. There's a lot of good information, especially in the front end. I've said this a few times, but I should probably like cut this up and make it a few separate videos in itself. But we'll see. We'll see if I feel like doing it. We'll see. But all right, everyone, I'm gonna go. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy your time. The time is now yours, as it always has been. But now it's time for you to realize it and seal it to you, and find the solution that is going to drive you into, or travel you more so into the path that you see fulfilling yourselves. Make sure, if you didn't already, give me a thumbs up on this video. If you made it this far, I'm sure you enjoyed it. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, because I do come live spontaneously sometimes, and enjoy your existence. Take care.